Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. For those that are new, my name is Nelly. You know, when it comes to relationships, it's such a gamble because you don't know that the person that you're meeting, whether it's a counterfeit or maybe it's Godsent. Today, we're going to be talking about how to identify those counterfeits. One of the signs to notice that you've got a counterfeit in your life is that counterfeit will look like what you want. When you're about to meet your kingdom spouse, a counterfeit will always come by just before you're about to meet him. And you'll be so convinced that this is a person that God brought to you. But the only difference is it's not a full package. And you'll take it because you're so convinced that this is the person that God brought to you. One of the things that you'll notice when it comes to a counterfeit is the beginning of your relationship, the things that you talk about don't align at a later stage. Because most of the things he's saying, he doesn't do them. Because he's very good in deceiving. He'll deceive you in a way that you can't tell the difference whether he's lying or not. And that relationship eventually doesn't last long because when it comes to character, it will show eventually. You cannot keep lying to yourself about character. But when it comes to a godsend person, they are a full package. So when you are with a godsend person, that relationship will be perfect and it will give you peace, even though at times you have misunderstandings. But you'll be able to solve those problems in a very healthy way. Because that person, you're able to recognize him through the Holy Spirit. And he was able to recognize you as well. But when it comes to that counterfeit, he will recognize you. And he will convince you so much that you will think he's from God. When you look at Adam, how he met Eve, he was able to recognize her as well. After God sent him all the animals, he was able to name the animals. He knew that he needed a helpmate. He knew that even though I have all these animals, there's just something that is still missing. I'm not fulfilled. But when he saw Eve, he was able to recognize her. That God-sent person will also be able to recognize you. And the next thing you'll notice when it comes to a counterfeit is they're not consistent. They're full of promises. They say one thing today and tomorrow they'll say another thing. And eventually you get to catch them because you've noticed that they're saying so many things and they're not fulfilling those promises. By the time you get to catch them, it will be too late because you realize that you invested so much in this relationship and you start justifying all your reasons why they're not consistent. But when it comes to a godly person, their ability is to act consistently in different scenarios. And you will notice the difference between that counterfeit and the one that's God sent. There's a huge indicator that shows who they are. If they cannot do something at that moment, they will let you know. They will tell you their intentions. They will tell you that they want to get married to you. Because a guy will know when they want to get married to you. They make that clear. But when it comes to a counterfeit, you will recognize some certain patterns. Patterns that you suddenly realize that since I've met this person, I'm no longer drawn to God. He's pulling me away from God. He's pulling me away from going to church. Every time we need to go to church, he's got some certain excuses and I end up following him. And you realize that they're beginning to change to become someone else because they're settling to please him. When you notice these patterns, they are red flags and God is trying to warn you with regards to those red flags. Maybe you don't see it, but when it comes to a godsend, there's direction and where this relationship is going. Your destinies will be highlighted and suddenly the things that you never thought you would do, you will do. Because you're both working towards the same direction. Maybe you didn't realize that you could run a business and the person that you've just met has got a business running and he wants you to be involved in that business. It's something that is highlighted that you didn't even know that you can do because he's got genuine intentions. It's not about him. He wants you to be involved with his life. He wants you involved in the destiny that God may be leading you to because he needs you to be there to make sure that his business is running well. That is why you're his helpmate. God will bring you someone in your life when he sees that now you're ready. Sometimes we feel like we are ready and yet we're just not. We need to work on ourselves or those little things that we are lacking that will be beneficial when you meet that person. God will only remove you from your singleness when it's no longer beneficial for you to be single but become a helpmate to someone. Most of the time we're always rushing things. And yet, you need to enjoy your singleness while it lasts. Because once you're married, it's no longer about you anymore. So if you still care about yourself and nobody else, why would you want to be married? Because when it comes to marriage, you have to think about the next person and the people around you, which would be your in-laws. And the next thing you'll notice that you are with a counterfeit is that person is controlling and manipulative. They are charming from the outside and rotten inside. In the beginning of that relationship, they've got a tendency to love bomb you, and you become blinded because you're led by the flesh than what the Holy Spirit is telling you. Even though the Holy Spirit is warning you about this person by showing you all the red flags, over time you become corrupted because they are there to destroy your value systems. Yet you're still convinced to stay in this relationship because of guilt. Maybe you've invested so much in this relationship and you feel like, I might as well stay. But what you don't know is this relationship has become a curse rather than a blessing. Just because you didn't want to be alone, you wanted to be in a relationship. And you end up being an easy target to this counterfeit. Counterfeits may talk about marriage as well, because they're listening to what you're always saying. And most of the time, they're the ones asking the questions so that they can perfect what you want. They'll ask about marriage, they'll ask about children, and they'll pretend like they are also in the same page with you because they want to believe they are there for you, even though you know that this is too soon to be discussing about marriage or so. And you start convincing yourself that God brought him to you. Even though your family and friends have warned you about this person, you see the red flags, but you stay because he's promised you to marry you. It's easy for a counterfeit to talk about marriage because they're such liars and they're very good at it. This is when you start giving him wife duties before you're married to him. And this will become very difficult to detach from this relationship because now you're emotionally attached to him. Have you noticed how easy it is to let go of a relationship when you haven't slept with that person? Even though the emotions are there, but they don't become as complicated than when you slept with that person. So that is why sometimes you need to ask those questions when you're both getting to know one another so that you can know where you stand in this relationship. When a guy tells you that I'm not ready for marriage yet, and you are at the moment where you want to get married, then you should know that this is not the right relationship for you. Have the time frame and what you want in your life because the devil can bring the counterfeit. But when the relationship is from God, that person will make it clear they want to get married. Will tell you want to court you because a Godsent person will have principles. He won't rush you into bed, but rather he will want to get to know you better. Rushing you into bed is not his intention because it will always cloud you and you end up making wrong decisions. You end up with a counterfeit or even a narcissist. You won't even see that person for who they are because you've become an easy target. So don't make a relationship make you make the wrong decisions. A counterfeit could be anyone, including you. You could be a counterfeit to someone. You could be a Christian, but you're not fitting the puzzle of that person. You came into this person's life before the real person came in, and yet you are not the right person, not because you're bad, because counterfeits may not be bad people at times. You're just not fitting that puzzle. The destiny that God has for that person doesn't include you. Waiting on God is the best decision that you can make so that you don't end up making the wrong decision and end up bringing a counterfeit in your life. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video. God bless you.